This is false and foul. So throughout the past, let's say month and a half journey, we have talked about serious things such as gender-based violence, we've talked about LGBTQ community, we've talked about xenophobia, and we've addressed small businesses. We feel like it is only fair to bring our political leaders today to come conclude this series, of which my name is MOFOKENG, and this show will be split up into two parts, in which the first part will be addressing the problem.
Hi, again, welcome to our fifth and final episode for this year. I would say that our vision for this year was realized, and today we're bringing in a panel that is very influential. As students and in university, we play a bigger role in society, but by far politics has more influence both in university and nationally. So today we're just getting insights on what's going on around the VAL, which is the second part, and insight on their thoughts and maybe solutions on how we could at least challenge all these issues. So enjoy the show and watch all of it, because you get even more information on NSFAS, on BTech funding, and all those issues you students have been asking about. So yeah, enjoy the show.
I promise you guys it's a fire panel. Let's move.
All right.
Yeah, greetings and thank you very much. My name is WANDILE. I'm the president of the SRC, deployed by the South African Student Congress, well known as SASCO. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is MODUPI. I'm the former president of the SRC here at UT and currently the chairperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters Student Command.
No, thank you very much. My name is NHALEHISO. NDLOVU. I'm a member of PASMA, the Pan-Africanist Student Movement of Tanzania, and I'm here to engage. Thank you.
With this powerful lineup we have, I don't think they need any more introductions to that. On the first show, we addressed the problem which is known as gender-based violence, which on the third show, we addressed the problem which has been the outbreaks of xenophobic attacks in this country. And on the show prior to this one, we had a problem which we wanted to address with you guys, concluding this whole matter. State Mboweni says that small businesses are the way for the future, but yet it's difficult to get funding. Can you please touch up on those and how we can address it, not just on a student level, but a parliamentary level for all these problems?
Thank you very much. I don't know if I should address gender-based violence, xenophobic attacks, and small business, all of them.
You can address all of them.
Okay. Thank you. There is a problem specifically on gender-based violence. I think once an engagement with MODUPI on what influences the current status quo of women and children being abused by men. And when we check the background where the African culture comes from, there was an element, we might not want to agree with it, but there was an element that a man is superior than a woman, and that this current state becomes wrong. Because if you still have that mindset, it simply means you're still going to attack those that are very close to you. So it comes long way. And for us to root it out, I want to go to the solution path, not the explainers, okay? I think the country must focus more on educating kids from primary high schools to understand that male and female are human beings and they must be equal and they must be treated as equal. So if it's rooted out from that level, we might avoid at the advanced stage having men abusing women. Comrades will cover other aspects. I just want to give them. The second one is xenophobic attack. I think this comes from what has transpired in the country just recently. And I don't agree that it's xenophobic attack. I think it's Afrophobic, because there was no white man who was attacked, no Indian man was attacked. But there were African brothers that were attacked in South Africa. Well, for quite a number of reasons. But I don't think that that is how we should deal with issues. You know, South Africans were not happy that brothers come from Africa and they corrupt the state, they corrupt the country. But I don't think attacking them is a good way of dealing with it. There was supposed to be a way. No matter how long it would take, there was supposed to be a better way. Because I don't think violence is the solution to anything. Anarchy is not the solution to the problems that we have in the country. So that is not a xenophobic attack, it's an Afrophobic attack it was happening to African brothers for the motives that they had in the country that were wrong. We must call wrong on them as well, because they were not right. We must point them that selling of drugs to kids, prostitution and other things, to name a few, it's wrong to happen in the country. But this is where the state comes, that the state must be able to monitor these people and have a way in which they can stop these, illegal actions, not for South African citizens to take law to their own hands and attack these African brothers. Small businesses, it's entrepreneurship, it's the future of the country, because in that level, even the smallest, place grows in small businesses. Because not all of us are going to be able to go to school and start and get employed and be a robot, go 8 until 5. And not all of us are going to be taxed and steal so that we can have money. And not all of us are going to be corrupt, steal from the people and take it to our pockets. It's not all of us. But this is an aspect that covers quite a number of people. Because if I sell sweet, you sell sweet, we can sell different types of things. I mean, in this room, all of us can be selling, can be a small business people. Because it covers almost everything. So when we speak, let me speak on it on campus. Historical on campus, students were allowed to sell at Sun City, but only fruits. And that did not make really much sense. We engaged it. That no, allow them to sell everything that they want to sell. It's something that Wole Mogang started. I think in this debate, we were going to be objective and honest, because students need the honest information. It's Le Mogang who started it. We came in, we took it up, and it occurred, students were saying. Recently, going to exam, students were removed from the sunset, that they can no longer sell. We went and engaged in that, no, you can't stop them from selling. And there was an agreement that, okay, it's fine. Since the year is gone, next year we're going to allow them to sell again. But we must have a plan. Now, the plan that we have is that we're going to build them places where they're going to sell. I said to the university, I hear that. It sounds nice. But I know implementation is a problem. So what we have agreed upon is that in the meantime, they must allow them to sell where they're going to sell, while they're building where they want to place them, and starting from next year, so that they continue selling. But we also ought to protect these people. I'm speaking now on the outside the institution, South Africa in general. Because these people time and again are attacked by criminals. They don't have much protection. I mean, they're just workers. There's no one who protects them. And other small businesses that are well advanced, those are better. I want to speak on the West one, those that are mentioned as workers. I think also their protection is critical, so that when sitting in the streets, they even what the income they make, they get to be protected. I, for one, I'm in an institution level. I grew up in a background where my mom was a single mother. And the only thing she was doing, she was selling stuff. She managed to take me to the university. I'm here now. I've grown. I'll be able very soon to go there and take it. So these people also bring better to the country by the small things that they do. So we ought to protect them. We can check maybe even the president of the country, or even the CIC of the EFF was bought by someone like that. But they are great leaders today. And they come from someone who was just benefiting from such a thing. So we ought to protect them. I would prefer to stop them. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with xenophobia. And our take as the EFF student commando is the EFF. And my personal opinion to the issue is that, xenophobia or Afrophobia, it does not start at that level. I think as South Africa, we must admit that long enough we've struggled to accept each other based on our tribes. It starts there. I mean, we have people in South Africa who still think that because I'm a Sotho or I'm a Tswana speaking person, I'm better than a Tsonga speaking person. And that's why we've associated each other with so much prejudice that Tsongas, they behave in the certain way, generally, all of them. And Tswanas, they behave in the certain way. If I can ask you, just tell me what you know about a Xhosa lady. And a typical South African will say Xhosa ladies, they love money. So I think, or if I can say, tell me about a Tsonga speaking person, they will say, Tsongas, they are filthy, they speak loud, they have all these negative connotations around the prejudices of different tribes. You come to VUT, there's an association of tribes. Tsongas, they identify themselves as Tsongas, Tswanas, Xhosas, like that. And that brings human differences naturally. They come along with that because Tsonga speaking people, they see me this way. I want to retaliate and prove myself that I'm not that way. In fact, I'm the one who's better than them. And then before you know it, when a Nigerian brother comes now, it comes even worse. That, as a South African, I'm better than a Congolese or a Nigerian. So I think before we can stop talk about xenophobia, we must really start by collapsing or dismantling tribalism. Because if we dismantle tribalism, we'll be able to see each other as human beings even beyond our racial or our nationality, our racial background or our nationality. So I think even in VUT, we must really start to practice living with one another in harmony, understanding each other, and it mustn't be an issue that I'm Tswana or Tsonga or Zulu. And then if we're able to address it on a national level, then we can go abroad and be able to understand Nigerians as equal human beings as us. But at the same time, we must be able to call each other out. And calling each other out shouldn't be an activity of killing each other. We must call each other out with an objective of correcting each other so that life of a black person can be better. If we have Indian fellows who are selling fake items, we must be able to call them out, and not with violence, but we must be able to call them out and show them that we don't appreciate or we're not comfortable with you selling this kind of fake items. If we have Nigerian brothers in Bedworth who are selling drugs, we must be able to confront them and say, comrades, you must leave this place, or you must not sell at all. But this place, it must be protected, it must be a conducive environment. And on gender-based violence, again, these are issues that I think are starting from home. Before, the first group that welcomes you on earth and that shows you moral values, that shows you the entirety of life, that's a family. That's the first group that greets you. That's the first group that shows you what to expect and how to interact with people outside the family structure. And if things go wrong from the family structure, then you are producing as a family someone who's not going to be of a good purpose to the society. So I think as South Africans and as black people, we must really go back to basics of a family structure that is well groomed and that is well raised. When we grow up, it's the family that will tell you that a son has more advantage than a daughter. Even a typical guy, you would ask him, so your firstborn, which you want, a female or a male? It's all in our brains that we think having males is way better than having a daughter. So this generation, we must be able to impart a common understanding that a male is equal to a female. And in that way, we'll be raising kids that will be part of society, that will be part of corporate environment, that will be part of government, that will be part of university institutions or any other institution. And before they can even tap to that society or that environment, then they will understand that no, my sister is equal to me like a brother. And me as a sister, I'm equal to my brother. So in that way, I think we'll be able to, resolve a number of things, because, to tika sonarare lo so you start shaping a rod when it's still at the very early age. Otherwise, if you are going to come and want to lecture me about gender-based violence when I'm already a married man, it's going to be very difficult for me to understand and to be at that level of that world view. And as I conclude on small businesses, look, I really do not want us to view small businesses in VUT at the level of the activities that are happening in Science City. That's the lowest level that we can reduce small business to. And when we started that thing of Science City, we said they must mount the tables there by Science City, so that, because in January and March, January and June, during registrations, you have students who are selling second-hand books. So before, they were selling those books from the floor. And January, it's a rainy season, it rains a lot. So we complained that we cannot allow students to sell these books from the floor when there's dust, sometimes it's raining, it does not make any sense. And we ask that they mount those tables and then they allow them to also sell other items. But I want us to view this issue at a broader approach. You have your fashion design students, you have your photography students, you have your graphic design students. And each and every course, I want to believe at the level of first year, they teach you entrepreneurship. But the university at the same time, it does not give a space for students to practice that of which they learn in the lecture rooms. Why are we not pushing that our fashion design students be the ones who are designing the graduation gowns for graduation? Why does the university have to source out services that they themselves, as a university, they have a course that deals with that? And you have students that are way competent to deal with that. I mean, VUT, it only appreciates its students when they are already outside the system. You have your David Tlale, and I can promise you, when he was a student here, David Tlale was not recognized, he was not appreciated. But now that he's now, at the top, is big, now people want to claim that no, David Tlale is a product of VUT. And it must start when we are students. Our photography students, during graduations, during all the events of VUT, why are they not the ones who are sourced and who are being paid to render such services? You have your graphic design students. Why is it still the case that these services, they are outsourced outside? So we must be able as students to organize ourselves properly enough that the university must give us the priority when coming to businesses in VUT. Your engineering students, I mean, so it means if VUT is not giving their own students a platform to render services for economic purposes, then it means VUT is producing students for other companies, not themselves. So meaning they don't even trust themselves, they don't even trust the output or the products that they produce. It would be like if you are selling coffee and you don't drink it yourself, but you prefer to buy coffee elsewhere. That does not make sense at all. If you are selling coffee, you drink it yourself. You enjoy it yourself. You buy it yourself, or you recommend it yourself. But if you want to sell coffee for other people, not for yourself, then there's a problem. It does not make any logical sense. So we must really come together as political structures and ensure that our students, they get priority when coming to rendering services to students. Because millions are being looted unnecessarily out of the university, whereas we have people who can do those things from the university. Thank you.
Thank you. Firstly, I'm going to touch on gender-based violence, and I'm going to put race on it because I believe it's a systematic issue. It's not just something that came overnight. We must first deal with the Berlin Conference that divided us, that placed us in different spaces in our continent of Africa and said you are going to be Congo, you are going to be Rwanda. I'm discussing the systematic setup of everything from Prostag. So over 400 years, black men to be particular, I'm not going to speak of the other race or any other race. Black men have been fighting a losing battle, trying to reclaim their dignity, which is their land, wealth, and everything that they own, from cows, minerals, you can name them, vegetables and whatnot. So what is happening now with the current system, which is a capitalist system, whereby we see the current increase in gender-based violence, is because of the frustration of the system. And if we don't attack it as a systematic problem, then we'll never, ever get rid of this disease or witchcraft of gender-based violence, where black men beat up black women, young children, and old women also. So we must be specific in that regard, that we must first get rid of the capitalist system. Let's assist the black man to reclaim his dignity back. Let's assist the black man to reclaim his wealth so that he can provide. Part of the reasons that men attack women is because of providing. When a woman feels like now you are providing less, she moves on to another man, a man gets aggressive, beats her up. It's because of the economic conditions of the country, which are influenced by the system, which is capitalist. So if we are to approach and to resolve on these issues, let's resolve the first issue, the issue of the system that we are in, which is a capitalist system, first, on gender-based violence. That's how I believe our men can have dignity now to stand up and say, I'm a proud black man and I support my own people. And women also will support fellow black men and young boys so that they are equipped enough to know how to handle women at a young age and at an older age. On xenophobic attacks, again, it's a systematic issue. You will argue here that how do Nigerians get first preference in Johannesburg? Before 1994, Joburg was meant for one race, but for two. So it's a systematic issue. We must first identify how did they get there without any IDs. Who gave them this? Who is in charge of the system after all? It's the other race. That's the honest and brutal truth that has happened to our people. So on small businesses, again it's a systematic issue. All of them will fail. I'm telling you, my brother, there is no black business or small business that will emerge in a capitalist system. Never. Never, it will never happen. So on the basis that there is competition in a capitalist system. And once there is competition, one must be out above the other. While the reasons computer was removed at Sunset, Nguyo was complaining. Nguyo wants monopoly. He wants all the money to come to him. He does not want to share. Fanscape equally does not want to share. So it's an evidence of the capital system existing in our campus. So before we distract and collapse that system, then we are fighting a losing battle in Africa. I'll stop right there.
I want to agree with Dido, Comrade Dido of Africa. The base of it all is capitalism, and if we're not going to admit and approach it from that angle, I doubt we'll be able to champion everything that we've been speaking about. White people, they are not indigenous people of Africa or South Africa, but the treatment that we give them is way different from the treatment that we give to these African brothers. And if you can compare what white people have done to black people in particular in South Africa, it's way different to the insinuations and the allegations of what our African brothers are doing to South Africa. notwithstanding the fact that there are issues of drugs and there are issues of women trafficking. But if you were to go and check the cause of it all, it's the arrival of white people and capitalism. And I want us, just a question that is not insinuating anything, to just check, because we might think also xenophobia is an issue of South Africa. It's an issue that is across Africa. Because I can just now put a question that just that we have few South Africans in these countries, if we can just ask, well, how are their lives in Rwanda, how are their lives in Nigeria, how are they coping in Uganda, in Ghana, and how are they treated by these African fellows when they are in those countries? So just a question that we can just leave there. How are they treated when they get there? I've been to Rwanda myself for a week, and I have a totally different story to tell.
Yeah, just to in agreement with comrades. What I want us to look into is that as Africans, what really went on? Because Africans, in my understanding, Africa must unite. And Africa needs to be one. Because when we speak of capitalism, it's not the system of Africa. It's a West system which is imposed to Africa. But the battles that we have within, I agree with you, are battles that come from the system of capitalism. But the system has gotten into us. And unfortunately, it's turning us against our brothers. I said it when I started that there's no one who attacked the white man. Not that white men don't sell drugs, but there's no one who attacked the white man. But the system has gotten to us as Africans. But the first thing that we can at least do, difficult as it may, is for Africa to unite and see what comrades are saying, that I fully agree with. That the problem is not a South African man, or a problem is not a Tswana man like the Mohammed said, but the problem is the system which is given to us. That is what South Africa, that is what Africa should be able to identify and come into uniting, and they'll be able to defeat what they are approached with. Because it's, in my understanding, the problems of xenophobia that are happening not only in South Africa, to a certain extent are castrated by the West to decide that these ones now must fight. Where do we get drugs as Africans? Where do we get it? So it's something that is brought to us, and we welcome it, and we use it, then it turns us against each other. And we forget the bigger purpose, which is capitalism that competitive. I just wanted to also give that sense.